Okay, hello, welcome to the session on Sage Journals today. My name's Chloe Turner and I'm the library trainer here at Sage Publishing, and I'll be running through Sage Journals with you this morning. If you have any questions that occur to you after the live training or after you've watched this recording, please feel free to contact me via email, chloe.turner@sagepub.co.uk, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So let's go straight in and find out more about Sage Journals. So Sage Journals is the platform where Sage hosts all of their journals content, and this gives you access to timely, high quality, peer-reviewed research articles all in one place in your discipline. And we do support a wide range of disciplines on the platform, and we'll come and look at those in more detail when I get onto the live platform demonstration. However, there is a link at the bottom of this blue box which will take you through to our A to Z list of journals. So if you know the journal title, the alphabetical title, you can look at it in that list there and see if there's anything that might interest you. So what is Sage Journals in more detail? So it's hosted on our flagship journals platform. This is Literatum by Atopon. So we moved over to the Literatum platform probably 3 or 4 years ago now, just because it was a lot more stable and reliable than the previous platform that we were on, and also gave us a lot of scope for customizing, integrating other technologies into it, and generally just a lot more flexibility in terms of how we might customize the platform going forward based on market demands, what our competitors were doing as well. So it allows us to be a lot more responsive. We do have a wide coverage of disciplines, so these include the humanities and social sciences, health sciences, life and biomedical sciences, and materials sciences and engineering. So there's a wide topic coverage there that we've broken down into further more detailed subject areas. So no matter where you're researching, studying or teaching, there should be some original and interesting research articles for you to be having a look at on our Sage Journals platform. Each journal has its own unique URL or homepage. Very often you'll have maybe 3 or 4 journals that you are reading regularly to stay up to date with the most recent research. And sometimes it can be useful if you want to bookmark or favourite these pages. This will just take you straight through to the homepage for the journals that you're going to be reading the most often. And we find that this is something that our customers really appreciate when they can just really simply do that with the homepage. We attempt to make our journals content as discoverable as possible through a number of different systems. So we index our content in Summon, EBSCO Discovery Service, Primo, WorldCat, and additional kind of aggregators such as Web of Science, PubMed, NCBI, and PubMed Central. So you can enable full text links using some of those aggregators. We also make the content discoverable via mainstream search engines such as Bing and Google. So you may want to start from the Sage Journals homepage, but if that isn't the natural way that you would usually begin your search for library resources or content, you can use a number of these different systems that your library may have enabled, or in other routes in those, so through search engines. So really you should be able to discover Sage Journals content no matter your usual route into discovering your library's resources. We've also worked really hard to make sure that the experience of using the Sage Journals platform is optimized, and it should matter the size of your device screen. So if you are doing your library research through your mobile device, the experience of using the Journals platform has been optimized for those smaller screens. So if you're using tablets as well, for example. So I just want to take a closer look at our Sage Premier 2020 collection. So this is our most comprehensive collection, and it contains 1,104 journals, and those are across those range of disciplines that I mentioned. 184 of those titles are open access, and around 53 percent of the content is ranked in the JCR, or Journal Citation Report. So any journal that has an impact factor rating is widely cited, widely read, and the content is particularly impactful. So for over half of our journal content to have a JCR ranking really just demonstrates the high academically rigorous content that we're providing to you in this Sage Premier 2020 package. And your access to content goes from around January 1999 to the present day. So you're getting over 20 years of content in the Sage Premier 2020 package. So that's just some of those top level figures, just for you to get more of an introduction to this particular package. The next slide here just picks out some of the key user groups who may benefit from using the Sage Journals platform. I won't read through each of those examples in red, but hopefully that might just spark some ideas and inspiration for how those groups might benefit from using the Sage Journals content. I will be sharing the slides along with the recording afterwards, so you can have a look at this in more detail if you think that might be interesting. And the next slide here is just a direct link to the Sage Journals homepage, and also a prompt for me to switch over to my browser. So does anyone have any questions at the moment or any comments? And you can unmute your microphone in the participants list, or you can type them into the chat box. Okay, I think we're seeing any questions. Okay, so hopefully everyone now should be able to see my browser, and this is the Sage Journals homepage. So it's just journals.sagepub.com. So you may want to include that link in a subject guide or a reading list if you're trying to promote the content to your students. Equally, it's something that you may want to index on your A to Z list on your library website, so that your users can find the direct link to your e-resources there. That's a common place that you promote your databases. However, as I've mentioned, we make the content discoverable through a number of different ways and means, but just maybe some quick tips there if you wanted to promote the actual link to the homepage. So there's a number of ways that you might get started, but I'm going to start off with some of the browsing options here, just because I think this is a really great place to go if perhaps you just want to get an overview of what kind of content is available in your areas of interest. So if we click on the Browse A to Z All Sage Journals, this will take you through to the A to Z list that I mentioned at the start. So that was the link that I provided in the first slide in the blue box. And here you can see that we've got the titles organized alphabetically. So this is a good way of browsing if you know of a particular title that you want to have a look at, or perhaps if you're researching or studying in a particular area. So if I go with the example of education, so we go to E, we can see here that under E, we've got a number of journals that contain the word education or educational. So that might be a good place to go if you're thinking quite broadly or generally about your topic and want to see what sort of journals that we publish with that particular topic in the title. And that can be great when you're researching new journals that you might want to look at for a new area of research or topic that you may be covering. So do bear that in mind. That's one of the ways that you might navigate using the A to Z list there. Also, from the home page, you've also got the option to browse by discipline. So I mentioned that we support a wide variety of topics, and we've grouped them into these 4 really broad top-level discipline areas. So if you are thinking about wanting to look for journals in a particular discipline, you can use this navigation menu here. So if I just go with the health sciences, this will take me through to here, an A to Z list of all the journals that are in the discipline of health sciences. So before, when I was browsing by journal A to Z, it was showing us all journals from all of those 4 top level subjects or disciplines. But now you can see that I'm just filtered on health sciences. So all of these journals will be relevant for us if we're researching within health sciences. So it's a much shorter list. However, you can see that we're still getting well over 10 pages of journals, and I believe there's 20 journals listed on each page. So that's still quite a lot of content to be going through. So we do actually have a further way that you might narrow down those results. And we can see that we've got health sciences, we're filtered there. But then to the right of that, we can go further and browse by subject. So if I just expand this menu here, we can see, as if we read through that list, that these are all smaller subject areas that are related to health sciences as a discipline. So if you're involved with health sciences, you may take a closer look here and see if your more specialised subject area is covered. So just as an example, I'm just going to filter by the subject area of nursing. And we can see now, if I just scroll to the bottom, that we've only got 3 pages of journals. So that's a lot more manageable for us to be looking through if we're researching or studying in that area. So let's see. So someone's asked if we support languages other than English. So some of our journals may be published in other languages, but the majority of them will be in English, and it will give you an indication of the language it's published in. The only thing that I might recommend there is if you use a third-party software to translate some of our content, but most of the content will be in English and in the language that's presented on the screen. If you did want to translate, you would have to look at third-party alternatives to do that. So you can see there that the language, the page, you've got a much smaller number of pages to be looking through. So we can see here that these are all sort of related to nursing or health. So if we scroll through here, you can then have a look through these lists of journals and see if any of these might be useful. So I'm going to go with the Journal of Transcultural Nursing. So this has now taken me through to the Journal of Transcultural Nursing homepage. So I mentioned that each of our journals has a homepage. So you can see here that it's TCNA, or the Journal of Transcultural Nursing. So what you can do there is then click on the bookmark, or depending on the browser that you're using, the sign for bookmarking or favoriting a page, and then that's going to save that in your list of favorites. So you can really just select that quickly from your usual bookmark menu and be taken straight through to the home page here. So I just want to point out a couple of things that you might find on the journal's homepage. So you can see at the top here that we've got some different tabs that will show you some of the different information associated with this journal. So the Browsing Journal tab will allow you to navigate between different sections or issues or back issues of the journal. So you can see here that if you want to be taken through to the current issue, this is the most recently published issue. We can see that it's September 2020, so really, really current. This will take you through to the articles in a sort of table of contents that you can look through. So this is the most recently published research here in this journal. So you can have a look through the list there. You can also use the journal here to navigate to our online first material. So this is our most recently published research that we make available on the journal's homepage, so that you can see the most recently published research, but the kind of journal PDF might not have necessarily been through that typesetting process to make it more standardized and presentable on the journal's homepage. But we just enable that online first version of the article so that you're not being delayed by some of our kind of publishing processes. So bear that in mind if you want to stay up to date with the latest research. You can also browse all issues. So this will enable you to see all past issues of the journal, and these are navigated by year. So if you knew that your journal article that you wanted to get to was from 2000 to 2009, you can click on the plus sign to expand, and then obviously you can find it by year and then volume and issue number. So really simple to navigate. So if you've got the reference for a past article, you can just use that browsing option there as well to get to your past issues. You can also use the navigation buttons just beneath the Journal of Transcultural Nursing homepage image, and that's also how you would navigate those journal titles as well. We also have the journal information drop-down menu here. So this is a really great place to get to some kind of figuring out how to promote the journal if you want to, how to subscribe to it, getting reprints. But we also have some great resources here that explain what the journal covers, where, you know, how it was started, some of the aims and scopes. So if you're interested in getting published in this journal, this can be a great place to go to see if your research matches the types of things that they are interested in publishing. You can also see who is on the editorial board. So editorial boards are made up of academics researching and teaching in those fields, and they're responsible for selecting the content that goes into the journal. So if you're interested in getting published here, it might be good to see who's on the editorial board, and again you can do some research into the types of things that they're publishing as writers themselves. So again, just a great place to go for getting information on that journal. You can also see that we've got a really big submit paper button here. So this is great for you if you're interested in getting published here. You can click on submit paper, and this will take you through to some instructions for how to submit to the Journal of Transcultural Nursing. All of the submission guidelines for all of our journals are slightly different, so it's always worth clicking on that if one of these journals does make your shortlist, to make sure that you're adhering to their particular guidelines. In the top right hand corner here, we can see that this is a journal that has an impact factor. So it's one of our journals that's ranked, part of the 53% that's ranked in the journal citation report. And we can see that this journal's got an impact factor of 1.441. So if you click on the link there, this will give you some more information about how those journal impact factors are calculated, and where those those are abstracted and indexed. So worth having a look. So we can see that that's a really impactful journal that we have. Towards the bottom, we also have a number of ways of navigating some of the latest articles published. So we can see here latest articles. This is our default tab. These are the most recently published articles or online first articles that we have in this journal. We also have our most read articles. So these are the articles that have both been the most read in the last 6 months. So you might want to have a look at some of those. And we also have most cited. So these are the most cited articles in this journal in the last 3 years. So we get this data weekly, and we use the data exclusively from Crossref, and you can find out more about Crossref cited by clicking on the link there if you want to. So just some really great places to go to get the most impactful research. I think this is quite nice to show to students and researchers, just to highlight some of the most interesting content that's published in a particular journal. And also gives you an idea of some of the topics that you might want to cover in your own research. Towards the top of the page, I just also want to mention that we've got some of these, we call them sticky headers, so it doesn't change regardless of where you are on the page. But we've got the option here to search. So if I just click on search there, this will then expand the menu for you. And we've got the option to run a quick search across all of our journals on the Sage Journals platform. But you can also just search across the full text content of this journal here by clicking search this journal. And then if I type my keywords into the box there, so just go health, that's just going to search for the word health across the Journal of Transcultural Nursing. So just something to be aware of in terms of the navigation there as well. So I just want to click on an article here, and I'm going to go with this one here, Cultural Humility, a Concept Analysis, so we can have a look at the article page. I'm just going to check the chat box as well to see if we've got any questions. So someone's just asked about giving the abstract or the full text. So what I'll do, actually, that's a good question. And it really depends on the package that you've signed up to, or what your university currently has access to. I'm doing this webinar for all universities in Kuwait, so it's difficult for me to know exactly where you've come from and which university you're affiliated with. So you'd have to check which content exactly you have access to with your individual librarians. But I'll give you some indications about how to tell which articles you will get access to as I progress into the presentation. So someone's just asked me to mention that the participants can access Sage Journals via Kuwait University's library's website, and the link's been provided to you in the chat. So do have a look at the chat if you want to get the link there. So that's how your access is provided, and that's provided by the eJournal tab, and you will find all publishers there as well. Do I know whether PAAET in Kuwait has a subscription to Sage Publications? Not off the top of my head, so you might have to check with your librarian. As I said, this session is for a lot of different universities in Kuwait, so I don't know individual institutions' level of subscription to Sage products. Someone's asked, is there any editing or proofreading service? So that's not something that we at Sage tend to offer as a service. Our editors will maybe do a little bit of overview just to make sure that the article is kind of up to the standards we would expect in terms of publishing. But if you wanted editing or proofreading services, it's not something that Sage provide in any level of detail. So I'll definitely sort of look for that elsewhere, and usually editing and proofreading is something that's offered via your library, and very often students, kind of doctoral or PhD students, may offer those sort of services. So do check out those services through your individual university, but it's not something that Sage provide in that level of detail that I think you're probably referring to. Yes, so someone's just confirmed that PAAET does have access to Sage Premier Journals. Excellent, so I think that's correct. We're all up to date. Are there any other questions or comments at this stage? I hope I've covered everyone's questions so far. Okay. Right, so I clicked on the article, Cultural Humility, a Concept Analysis, from the Journal of Transcultural Nursing homepage. So we're now at the article level. And you can see here, as I just scroll down through the page here, that we've got access to this article in the full text. So just some things to point out. As well as being able to read it on the screen, you can also download the PDF of this article by clicking on the red button here, which will then open it up in the new window. And then you can download the PDF or print if you prefer to make sort of handwritten annotations, but you've got the PDF option there as well. So hopefully that just makes it as flexible and as easy for you as possible, depending on how you might like to share resources or use them in your individual study. So you can see at the top, we've got the article title, and then underneath we've got some of the named authors. So we can see here, if I hover over the name Cynthia Furonda, that Cynthia Furonda, we're given some information about this author. So we can see that she's from Johns Hopkins University in the US. And then underneath, we've also got some links to be able to see other articles that she's been involved with publishing in. So we can see, if we click on see all articles, that's going to take you through to a list of articles that Cynthia Furonda has been involved with on the Sage Journals platform. And if we click on search all Google Scholar, this will show you a list of articles that has been published and been aggregated by Google Scholar that Cynthia Ferranda may have been involved with publishing in with other publishers besides Sage. So this can be a great place to point to your researchers or students to, as if you have really sort of found that this article is useful, authors are often going to be publishing in the same areas or topics. So if you want to see other articles that Cynthia Ferranda has been involved with, you can use those links to get to those comprehensive lists as other articles that they've been involved with may be relevant too. So do bear that in mind if you're looking for similar or related research. And it's the same for these named authors here as well. Another tip for you is all of our articles come with these keywords. So if you found this article useful and you wanted to find out more about cultural humility, for example, if you click on the keyword, you'll find other articles that share that keyword as well. And again, like with finding similar articles published by the same author, this will be a great way of finding similar research that covers a particular keyword or concept. So really easy to find related research. To the right hand side, we've got this really great feature here called related articles. So again, a nice place to go to find similar or related research. So these might be articles that share the same author, some of the same keywords, cover some of the same topics. So if we go to view all, this will show you all of the articles that we've pulled together as being related to the article Culture Humility, and then you can see and click on some of those articles there as well. Also on that, at the bottom of that small box, we also have a link to articles citing this one. So this article itself was published in 2015, but we can also see that this article has been cited by 111 other articles. So any articles in this list are going to be more recent because they've cited that one as a source. So if we go to view all again here, this will show you a list of all the articles that have used that one in the reference list. So we can see we've got here developing cultural competence, and this article was published in September 2020. So that's a really great place to go to get more recent or up-to-date research. Towards the left-hand side here, as well as the download PDF option, we've got the option to navigate easily between different sections of the article. So if you didn't want to read the abstract and introduction and just wanted to get straight to what the research results were, you can click on results. And we can see there that we've been jumped to that section there, so that you're not having to read the whole thing. We've also got the option to cite this article. So if you did want to include this in your reference list or bibliography, you can click on cite, and then you've got the option to choose between getting a citation for this article in APA, Chicago, MLA or Harvard. So if we click on Harvard, you can see that the article reference has updated to be in the Harvard style, and then you can easily just copy and paste copy, or say copy to clipboard, and then that will allow you to paste that directly into the reference list for your essay or project that you're working on. We also have the option to download the reference for this article into a couple of different citation managers. So if you are managing a larger number of references for your project, you may want to do that here. So if you're working in EndNote, you can click on EndNote, click on Download Citation, and then that will put the reference into that project, into that citation manager in the usual way. We also have the option to share. So if you were running a search on behalf of a student or a colleague, and you thought they might find this research interesting, you may want to email them a direct link to the article on the Sage Journals platform. And you can just do that by entering some information about them here. Click on send, and then that will email them the direct link here to this article, so that they don't have to start from the homepage themselves. We also have the option to share the article via a number of social media platforms if that's something you wanted to do to promote some research that you found interesting. So that's some of the ways that you might navigate the article page. So just to recap, we started from the Sage Journals homepage and we browsed by the discipline of health sciences from those 4 larger topics. We then used the subject browse to narrow down our list of journals to 3 pages in the discipline or subject of nursing. We then had a look at the journals page, the Journal of Transcultural Nursing, from the list of journals that we were presented. And then we looked at the article here from the Journal of Transcultural Nursing. So we've gone down in that list to get to an article. So hopefully that just explains sort of how those different sections of the platform are all related and how you might get to some interesting research. So I'm just going to go back to the Sage Journals page now. So we can look at doing a quick search, but I'm just going to check the chat box again just to see if we've got any questions. Someone's just saying thank you for the webinar. Someone's asked, can we transfer the citation to EndNote? So yes, EndNote's one of the citations that we support. And someone's asked, is it better to sign in to Sage Journals or create an account? So you don't need to sign in anywhere to Sage Journals directly. You would access it through your library website or through the means that was discussed a bit further up. You can access journals via Kuwait University's library website. So if you are a registered user or affiliated with any of those universities, you can sign in with your university email address and credentials and be able to access the full text content. So you don't technically, you have to sign in, I suppose, so that you're picked up as a registered user, but you don't necessarily have to create an account to be able to access the full text of the content. You can create an account on the Sage Journals platform to have access to some of our kind of extra features or customization options, but I'll come and discuss those a bit later on in the presentation. And if you do have any questions about kind of accessing or kind of creating an account after that, then we can clarify at that point. So I hope that helps. Someone else has just said thank you. It's really useful for the thesis. Okay, that's great. I've not seen any of the questions, but if you are typing, carry on and I will get to it in the next pause. So we've just come back to the library, the Sage Journals homepage, and you can click on the Sage Journals logo there in the top left-hand corner, and that's always going to take you back to the homepage, no matter where you are in the platform. So if you ever get a bit lost, click on that logo there and you'll always come back to this main homepage. So I'm just going to run a quick search now for some interesting research. So as I've been typing there, so I'm going to search for health and nursing, but you can see that as I've started typing that I get some suggestions that will be returned to me in my search results if I just run the search there for health. So this is just a really nice way of you as a researcher being able to see the types of items that will be returned to you if you run a search based on those keywords that you're typing in. But as I carry on typing health and nursing, you can see that I'm just getting articles there. But I think that's quite nice to see the type of results you'll get. It just gives you an idea of what the kind of topic coverage is as well. But I'm just going to run my search there for health and nursing. And you can see that my search results appear to me in the middle of the screen here. And I've got an articles tab. So this is the, I've got 197,000 articles that contain health and nursing of my keywords. And if I go to the journals tab, these are all kind of journals that contain nursing or kind of STEM words of nursing rather than individual articles. So basically there's quite a lot of results that contain my keywords there. So we've got some filters and options that will help you narrow down the amount of results you're seeing in this articles tab here. So I'm just going to apply some of these now. So if we go with the article type filter first, these are some of the different article types that we support. So we've got original research articles, we've got articles that maybe review other research and just provide sort of opinions or commentaries. We've got articles that review textbooks. So if a recent textbook had come out on health and nursing, this article might provide a review of that book and how useful it thinks the content is. I've also got things like abstracts, letters and news. So you can choose the type of article that might be the most relevant for you. So I know that I'm only interested in original research. So if I click on the article type, research article, that will take away quite a number of articles. So we've gone down by about 70,000 articles there. We've also got the publication date slider. So this will allow you to choose a date range of when your article was published. So I'm going to go for articles from 1st of January 2019 up until the 1st of September 2020. And you can see that we're down to 14,028 articles there, just by looking for the most recent and up-to-date research. I can also see here as well the kind of subject areas or taxonomy areas, subject headings, where my research is coming from. So I can see that my keywords health and nursing are predominantly coming from the health sciences discipline. But as we kind of go down, we can see, for instance, that 198 of those articles are particularly associated with sociology and 334 in public health. So just as an example, if I was interested in health and nursing related to how that might be taught in education, I could click on education and then be returned 402 articles related to that particular subject area. So you can see that just by applying really 3 filters there, I've gone down from 197,000 articles down to 402. So that's a lot more manageable for me to be working with, depending on what I'm actually trying to research or look at. But there's still quite a lot. So there's a few other ways that you might kind of sort or refine your search. So we've got the option here to click sort by relevance. So that's a default setting, but you can also order them by date if you want to. You can also order them by most downloaded, so how many times they've been read, and also how many times they've been cited, so the information that we gather from Crossref. So that might just be a way that you like to sort those results. But if we go back to sorting by relevance, I just want to talk about some of these key terms here. So someone asked in the chat earlier about sort of level of access to content. Now I'm talking about our Sage Premier 2020 package, which contains the majority of our journals. We do have a couple of other smaller packages that we publish on behalf of a few societies that are outside of the Sage Premier 2020 package, but you will be seeing the majority of our articles here if you have Sage Premier 2020. But just something to be aware of when you are navigating some of these titles, that we split them into 3 different colours depending on the sort of padlock icon next to it. So we can see examples of 2 of these here. So anything that has a green padlock tells you that that is part of your current subscription, and if you access that article, you'll have no problems being able to see that article in the full text. So that's green. We also have an option here which is blue, so that is telling you that that is an open access article. So that's content that's out, not behind a paywall, but in terms of your experience of accessing that, that's something you can access in the full text. And we also have another one which I can't show you an example of, but it's a grey background and the padlock is closed, and that's telling you that that article is not available to you in the full text as part of your current package in Sage Premier. But there's, as I say, it's a really small percentage of our content that's not published in our Sage Premier package. So hopefully there shouldn't be too many examples of those that you're going to see. But that's just a quick visual way of being able to navigate at the article level to see if it's something that's part of your current subscription. We also have the option here to refine a search. So this enables us to choose, for example, where our keywords may be occurring. So we can say we might want those to be occurring in the abstract or in the title. So that just sort of helps focus down our search a bit more. So we'll leave that as anywhere. You can also use this access type filter here as well. So this, if you are seeing some with the grey background, if you use the refine search option, you can click into this box here, only content to which I have full text access, click on search, and then that's going to get rid of any articles that have that grey background, for example. Someone's asked, can we have a link to the recorded session? So yes, I will be sending that to the organizer, and then they can distribute the recording to everyone as well as this slide. So don't worry if you've missed anything or want to go over anything again. So you can see there that we can use the refine to narrow down those results. So hopefully just by looking at some of those filters and some of the refine options, that's given you some ideas about how you might kind of narrow down or filter on your own results. And then obviously you can click on the article titles to see those in the full text. Are there any questions? Are there any other questions at this stage? Let's see. So there's no way of being able to sort of review the search history that you've been doing. What you can do is save searches. So if there's a search that you want to kind of rerun again, you can do that, but there's no way of sort of looking at your search history directly on the platform. It may be something you can retrieve through the search history in your browser, but obviously that's in terms of how that looks and the quality, it does depend on the browser that you're using, and it's not something that Sage controls, but it's not, you can't look at search history as part of the database, but it might be something you can get to through search history in your browser. Any other questions? Let's see. No. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about some of the ways that you might kind of get some of those additional customization options that I spoke about at the start. So you can authenticate and get access to the full text of the Sage Premier content through your library, but you can also could do a couple of extra things that allow you to sort of personalize your experience, I suppose. And one of these includes the option to save searches. So that might help with that kind of search history question. If there's a search that you might regularly be performing on the database, you can actually save some of those filters here. So if I click on that at the moment, it's asking me to log in to save my searches. So if you want to have access to some of those extra features, you will need to create a profile on the Sage Journals platform. And to do this, if you just click on these three options here at the top, you can see that this will open up the three sort of access options here. We're just interested in this one here on the left-hand side, the My Profile. So this is where you would create a profile, and then this gives you options to save searches and create alerts, which help you to stay up to date with the most recent research. So if you don't have a profile, you will need to create one manually. It won't automatically be done for you with your kind of university email address, so you will have to do that manually. If you click on create profile, this will take you through to the registration page here, where you can just enter a little bit of information about yourself to get set up and get started. Click on submit, and then you'll be able to create your profile. But I'm just going to log in with my profile really quickly, just so I can show you how to get started and set up. Okay, so you can see now that it's given me this message here to tell me that I've successfully logged into my profile. And we can see that instead of being grayed out, it's now in that kind of darker red colour. So if I now click on Save Search, rather than prompting me to log in or register, it's going to allow me to save these options here. So if this was a search, so this health and nursing search with these three filters, if that was a search that I was regularly going to be performing, what I may want to do is save that search so that I can easily run it again in a new session if I'm coming back to do similar research in a few weeks, for example. So if I click on Save Search after I've logged into my profile, I've got the option to alert me to new results never. So that means that I can just save that. So I'll just save this as Q8. But you can save it as anything you like. When you save it as never, that means that you can rerun that search whenever you come back into the profile area, and I'll come and show you how to do that towards the end. You can also click on Save Search to be alerted for whenever any new research is published on the platform that matches the search criteria here. So if any new content is published, you'll get an email alert to tell you, and you can select the frequency of how often you are emailed. So that's daily, weekly, or monthly. So if I call this one Q82, this will email me monthly with when new research is published on the platform that matches these criteria, so that I don't have to come back at different times to see. So if I click on Save Search, then that will then save that search to my profile. The other things you can do is set up favourite journals and also set alerts on journals as well. So if I go back to the home page, click on Health Sciences, I'll then go to nursing again to get my 3 pages of journals. So if I wanted to save and be alerted to when research was published in this journal here, the Diabetes Educator, if I check the box next to it and then click on Add Alerts here at the top, I can select to be emailed when any new content is published just in that journal. So it will alert me via email. You can say Add Alerts. I can then also as well, if I just go back to the discipline browse by nursing, I can also set up favourite journals, and to do that I just click in these 3 here. This will allow me when I do an advanced search to just search across the full text of those favourite journals. So if you're regularly reading those 3 journals, you can just set up add to favourites there. So what this has done is taking me through to the account section of my profile. So if I click on my profile there and then say view my account, this is going to take me through to this section here, and this is where I can manage some of the options that I've set up, so my favourite journals and my saved searches. So if I go to my alerts here, we can see that I signed up to get alerts from Diabetes Educator, and these 3 are journals that I added during the training. So if I don't want those anymore, I can just delete them. So now I'm only going to be emailed for when content is published in Diabetes Educator. We can also see my saved searches here. So I saved a search for Q8 and Q82. We can see one of these has got an N next to it. So if I log into my profile a few weeks down the line and I can't remember the filters that I applied to get to that search, but if I've remembered that I've saved it, if I click on Q8, this is going to pre-populate and run that search for me. So you can see here that it's brought me back to that exact sort of home page and set of results that I was working on with my filters already sort of pre-applied. So that's really, really useful if you're kind of wanting to run similar searches. You can also see here that I've got a monthly alert to be emailed when new resources are published in that area. And you can also delete old searches as well here. So I'm going to delete those now so that I'm only getting those 2. And here you can also manage your favourite journals. So I can't remember exactly which ones I added, so I'll just get rid of these 4, so that now these are just the favourite journals that I'm interested in staying up to date with. And if I want to demonstrate how the favourite journals works, if I come back to the home page, click on Advanced Search, we can see that I can type in my keywords here, health and nursing, but then I can also quickly add in my favourites when I'm logged into my profile, and we can see here that this is just going to search for health and nursing across those 3 favorite titles that I've added to my kind of profile area. So just a few quick options there in terms of enabling you to stay up to date with the most recent research. So that's really everything I can show you. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. So someone's asked, can you view the search history? I guess if you click on refine search, yeah, you can see sort of what filters you've applied in terms of the search, but there isn't a direct search history. So you can, if you run one search and then started a new one, you can't see that. But as I say, it might be something you can see in your browser history rather than directly through the platform. Are there any other questions or comments that anyone wants to share? We've got about 5 minutes left. Yes, as someone said, so saving search is replacing the search history. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's replacing the search history. Search history is a feature on some databases, mainly aggregators, to be honest, that are dealing with a much larger number of journals and content than our direct database. But it's just not a feature that we have in terms of the search history. But you could think about it. You could think about it like that if you wanted to. Are there any other questions at all?